back to the Jackaroo 250. Ray Dunlap along with Larry Rice and Rick DeBrule bringing you the racing action today from Lakeland, Florida. Ready to go back to green flag racing. It's lap 126 and Marty Ward is now your leader.
Yes, he is. And boy, he got a great jump as Jerry Rector did not get a good jump. He held everybody back because all the lap cars were on the inside line. Everybody behind him had no place to go. So he just held everybody up, and Marty Ward just went away from everybody.
Well, you take a look right now from the onboard camera there, looking out the back of Marty Ward's car, and you see the car number 12, that's Tim Edwards, and Edwards was down on the inside, and I think that was part of the reason why Jerry Rector wasn't able to get a really quick start.
Yes, and Marty Ward got a terrific start. He's out in the lead, and of course, he's used to leading this races. This is the first time in this event, though, that he's been able to work his way up there. Chad Chafin's been so dominant. Of course, after his pit stop now, he's moving back through the field and still has a couple of cars to go to get back up to Ward.
Folks, if you're just joining us, you're watching the Jackaroo Pro Cup Series. This is a brand new division. 1997, there will be 12 events. 10 of those will come here on ESPN2. You're looking at the number 84 car. That's Chad Chaffin from Smyrna, Tennessee. He's been the leader all day long, but they just went to the pit area, put on right side tires, gassed up the race car, and he's moving up through the field. Oh, and a car spinning out of turn number 4. That's the number 92 of Brad Means. That's his second spin on the day.
Yes, Brad Means got out of the groove. He got up into the gray, up into the marbles, they call him. And once he gets up there, he just lost control. You can see all the dirt and dust flying. He's trying to get turned around.
Well, Rick DeBrule is still down in the pits, and he's caught up with Tom Perkins, the crew chief for Chad Chaffin. All right, Tom, you brought Chad in. What'd you do and why?
We brought him in. We put right sides on the last caution, and we wanted to get the tires matched up with the right side, the right and left matched up, so we'll be good to go the rest of the way.
What's he saying about the car?
He says the car feels pretty good. Just takes a few laps for the tires to come in.
Well, that's the situation for Chad Chaffin. What about Mario Goslin, who drives the number 10 car? Rick DeBrule, what's the story in his pit area?
Let's talk about Mario Goslin's plan. What are you going to do?
Got 4 new tires on it. It's full of fuel. We're going to the end.
So you go the rest of the distance?
Going to the distance.
That's a very interesting strategy. They're going to try to do this on one pit stop. Obviously, Marty Ward is going to have to make another pit stop because he pitted much earlier. He doesn't have enough fuel. Everybody else back behind him, though, might be able to go on one pit stop. So it looks like right now Chad Chaffin could be in the driver's seat. Marty Ward needs another yellow flag later in the race in order to be able to get back in the running if they can, in fact, go without another pit stop.
Well, I'll tell you what, Larry, the number 4 car of Wally Fowler made a bonsai move when the green flag came out. He went to the inside of number 12, Tim Edwards, and they were just lucky that those cars didn't get into any trouble because they were right in front of the entire field.
Certainly were. As you can see Chaffin right now, he's on the back bumper of Marty Ward. He's really working on him hard. He's obviously not a guy who likes to run in second place. He's going to do everything to get back out in the lead. He's used to running there. He wants to get back out there. But right now, Ward also is the kind of guy who doesn't want to run in second.
I am really impressed with Chad Chaffin. He's run a lot of races at Nashville, Tennessee, but he is putting on a show today for the fans here at Lakeland, Florida. He is putting the pressure on Marty Ward. He was the fast qualifier today, so he picks up $1,000 for that, and he also was out front at the halfway point of today's race. So $2,000 in his pocket, and they haven't even finished the race.
That's right. You can see right now that the cars are starting to run just a little bit higher on the racetrack. That, you know, the racetrack gets slicker. The longer you run, the more oil, the more rubber that gets on there. So they're starting to move up the racetrack right now. Chad Chaffin was right on the yellow line early in the race. Now that he's up in the mid-track, obviously still running just as fast, though.
Well, we have certainly seen that this is a 2-groove track here, though, because earlier on, a lot of the leaders had to go to the outside of those lap cars, and they've been able to do that very successfully. But if you can do it to stay down on the inside, you'd love to do that. Now, number 65 there is Sammy Potashnik from Sikeston, Missouri. We haven't said much about Sammy today, making his first start here in the Jackaroo 250. He's a former competitor from the Arcabondo Marhide series, and Marty Ward out front. But again, here comes that pressure from Chaffin.
Chaffin just doesn't give up. He's going to sit there and ride and ride and ride. What he's trying to do is he's just putting enough pressure on. He's hoping that Marty Ward will make a mistake. Whether Ward will do that or not, well, not very likely. He's a very experienced driver. He's run a lot of laps on these kind of racetracks, but that's exactly what Chapman's trying to do right now. Worry him, worry him, worry him, and hope that he'll make a mistake either by himself or when he gets into lap traffic.
Again, we're at the Lakeland, Florida USA International Speedway. This is the first race of 1997, and we'll also close out the season here later on in December here at Lakeland. So if you're looking for a race to go to, you'll want to dial up the Jackaroo 250 and say what kind of racing you're going to be doing and where's it going to be, because I want to go watch some great competition.
Yes, as we take a look there, that's the car running in third position. It's Jerry Rector in the 77 car. That's the lap car of Tim Edwards, who's running right behind him. And then Eddie Sharp, who is running in fourth position back there with the lap car between them.
Eddie Sharp doing a nice job today there in that blue and white number 64. I think that he's going to be a driver to contend with throughout the season here too. But so far today, here in the Jackaroo 250, it has been all Chad Chaffin and Marty Ward.
You can see the 77 car of Rector's beginning to get very loose. You watch him going through the corner. He enters okay, but coming off, watch it. The back end just seems, oh, right there. You can see him correct the front end. The back end's getting out from under him a little bit. That race car has gone dead loose on him, but he's still able to hang on, and he's still running pretty fast in third position.
Rector from Fair Forest, South Carolina. Again, a regular competitor on the NASCAR Sportsman Series before that division went away. They ran a lot of their races, Larry, at places like Charlotte and Pocono, a number of the races at Charlotte, and a lot of the drivers became part of that division simply because of proximity. It was close to their home. And look at this, here goes a challenge for the lead to the inside, Chaffin, and he's going to take the lead away from Marty Ward.
Marty Ward saw him. He wasn't up very far. He just barely had his nose in there, but his spotters told him, don't pull down. You don't have enough room. But look at this. He's not giving up. He's running the outside groove and staying right with them.
Marty Ward is making a challenge on the outside. We talked about there being two grooves, and he's proven that right now as he sticks a fender right on the side of number 84. Some great racing here as they come off turn 4, but I believe Chaffin is going to take the position.
Well, Chaffin had the ideal spot. He moved up into the middle of the racetrack. It was his racetrack. He moved up. He moved Marty clear up in almost into the gray stuff. Once he got up there, he just didn't have enough traction to hang on to the outside groove. The outside groove really wasn't the second groove anymore. It was clear up in the third groove.
So we see Rector and Sharp running there in the top 5 on the graphic we just showed you, and Mario Goslin. Now, the third car on the racetrack is Wally Fowler in the number 4, but he is not running in the top 5. He is a lap down to these leaders.
Right. These two guys that pulled out into half a straightaway or full straightaway lead over the third place car. These two guys obviously running much, much faster than everybody else on the racetrack right now, and pretty equal, really. I think Chaffin just got a break there. As Ward got a little bit loose coming off of turn 2, he took advantage of it, stuck his nose in there. But certainly Ward is not falling back away from him any right now. He's hanging right on. As a matter of fact, seems to get through the middle of the corner just a little bit better.
Well, on that last lap, we saw them go by the number 52 with James Cottrell. He's from West Virginia. And again, it just goes to show you that there are drivers from all over the country competing in this Jackaroo series.
Yes, a lot of these guys want to be a part of a series that's bigger and better than the tracks that they've been running around their home state. So this is a perfect opportunity for them to come. They get some exposure on television. They get a chance to run the bigger tracks, the faster tracks. And, you know, if they have any ambitions of moving up in this sport, that's exactly what they've got to do.
One of the things, Larry, that I really like about this Jackaroo Pro Cup Series and about the ARCA division is that they are racing the type of cars that they'd be running when they go to Winston Cup. So when they race on a 3/4 mile like this, it's very similar to running a race at Richmond Speedway. And when they're on the half miles, it's a lot like running at Martinsville. So the experience that the drivers get behind the wheel is a true-to-life experience.
Well, exactly, and that's why the Busch Series has become so very, very popular and important in the NASCAR Series, because it's almost identically the same kind of car.
98 laps. We've seen Chad Chaffin out the front, and Marty Ward had the point for 21 laps as we're going to the 3/4 point of today's Jackaroo 250 from Lakeland, Florida. Nice to have you with us here. We're going to be back with more racing in just a moment from Lakeland. Don't go. Oh, wait, trouble on turn number 3. The number 19 car has gotten spun around. That is Kent Bazell from Spring, Texas, and that is going to pull out the yellow. So we will take a break and come back to Lakeland in just a moment. Speedway, 153 laps are in the book of the 250 today in the Jackaroo 250. Larry Rice, a change of events while we were in commercial break.
Marty Ward and Chad Chaffin both came in and made pit stops during that yellow flag. We knew that Marty Ward was going to have to come in. We did not think Chad was going to have to make a pit stop. He elected just to make sure, so he went in and got a splash and go. Now our leader is Jerry Rector, who inherited when the other two guys pulled in.
So Marty Ward was up front for 21 laps. We've seen Chad Chaffin lead an awful lot of this race, but right now It's South Carolina's Jerry Rector in car number 77 leading, and Rick DeBrule is caught up with his crew chief.
Well, Red Everett is Jerry Rector's crew chief. The 2 lead cars came in. Your guys stayed out. What's the plan?
Well, we got enough fuel to last. They topped theirs off. Our cars had about as good as go to get him. We're losing our brakes right now.
How does he like the car?
Pardon me?
How does he like the car?
We love the car. It just ain't got enough power yet.
Well, Larry Rice, he's talking about not having enough power. Looks like that car's pretty strong to me.
Well, he's doing a great job. That's an older race car. It's not one of the newer race cars on the racetrack, and I think he's doing a terrific job hanging on up there and then going down the straightaways. You're right. Looks to me like he's pulling down the straightaways as fast as anybody.
Red's Grill, the sponsorship on car number 77, but here comes a challenge from Chad Chaffin moving to the inside of Wally Fowler, and those cars are moving back up through the pack, so we'll keep our eye on our former leader, Chaffin, and Marty Ward in the Hooters-sponsored number 97.
Well, those cars had to go to the back of the lane. You can see we got a spin. We got a yellow flag to spin. It's Brad Means again spinning as you see him turning the car around. I think we've seen him do that a couple of times today. He's had a heck of a time up there in that corner.
Well, Bob Mangum is the crew chief on Marty Ward's number 97, Hooters Monte Carlo, and there evidently may have been a problem on that last pit stop. Rick?
All right, so tell me what happened.
The car's still tied in the middle. We just got worried about tires. This is a new compound Goodyear's got out this year, I think, and we just didn't want to take no chance. We're running awful good. If I don't make it turn a little bit better, we'll be there. The team Hooters Monte Carlo, it'll be there. We got a driver that can hustle it.
No fuel that stop at all?
No fuel. We was well into pit window, and the car seems to be better when the fuel's burned off of it.
Well, Bob, take a breath. Get ready to go, because we're ready to go back to racing. Lap 162, and Dick Westfall waves the green, and here we go. Boy, Jerry Rector really got a good start, Larry.
He got a terrific start. Now he's got a couple of lap cars in between him and second place, Eddie Sharp, so that's going to give him a cushion and a little bit of a lead here in order to run these next few laps without too much of a challenge.
So Jerry Rector, again, the third leader of today's Jackaroo 250 here from Lakeland, Florida. Glad you're joining us. Ray Dunlap, Larry Rice, and Rick DeBrule bringing you the broadcast today here on ESPN2. The cars are now spread out a little bit, and you're right. Rector has put a pad between he and second place Eddie Sharp.
And you can see that those 2 lap cars are running just about the same speed he is. That's going to make it a lot more difficult for those guys behind him to get around them, unless they are running a whole lot faster, which I don't think they are at this point. Late in the race, it certainly equalizes a lot of cars. Even though you might be a lap down, it seems like you've got a chance to keep up, as we see Chaffin back there making some noise and getting around some guys.
He's making a move there on Gary Layton in number 74. Chaffin goes to the inside and makes that move. Oh, one car getting very loose there was the number 91 of Jimmy Doyle.
Yes, and he's got out of the throttle and slowed everybody up behind him.
The number 95 car of Johnny Mackison has gotten sideways. Let's go down to Rick DeBrule.
Britton Snell is the car owner for Eddie Sharp. Let's talk about his situation. First off, how's the car working for him?
We're real well. Got a little tight, but we're coming in. I think we're going to be good to go.
All right, now let's talk about the big question. Can you go the distance on the fuel you got?
I just figured that we've got about 4 to 5 lap cushion right now.
So you're going all the way.
We're going for it.
You got enough speed to catch the cars up front?
We'll soon find out.
Well, kind of a coy answer there from Britton Snell, but I'll tell you what, this Eddie Sharp has done a great job. Qualified 7th, and he's all the way up to 2nd. Here goes the green flag, and Jerry Rector is back on the gas.
Yes, and he got a very good start, but I also, this time, Eddie Sharp got a very good restart. He's going to be right on the bumper of Rector as they come off and turn through and down the back straightaway. A much better start. He's not going to be 2 or 3 cars back like he was the last time. So it's going to give him a lot better opportunity to get up there and go after the lead. But look at Gosselin back there in 3rd. He, too, got a very good restart, and he's going to be right in the mix.
Well, once again, Tim Edwards in car number 12 is in between these leaders. He has got himself right between the car number 10 of Mario Gosselin and Chad Chaffin. So the 12 car somewhat holding up Chaffin. Here goes Chad taking a look to the outside, down the back straightaway. He makes that move, and here goes Gosselin to make a bid for 2nd place. He's putting the move on Eddie Sharp, and to the inside, Gosselin now down the front straightaway with a very, very strong race car.
Well, Eddie Sharp did a nice job giving him enough room. He could have pulled down in there and caused a little trouble, but he knew Gosselin had just enough room in there to put his nose in. So he just moved over and let him go on by. He'll take his chances a little later at getting back around him. Gosselin looking very strong after being involved in that early mishap down the front straightaway.
Evidently, that damage to the left rear of Mario Gosselin's number 10 is not severe because he has been running very strong. So you see your top 5 cars there now have sorted out and gotten by the lap traffic. Here goes a bid for the lead. Gosselin takes a look at the inside of Jerry Rector in the number 77. I don't think he's going to get it done that time by.
No, he's not. He's getting a real good run off the corner. He can keep it very tight down at the bottom. It looks like we were talking earlier, some of these crew chiefs, and they said their cars were pushing a little bit. They were real tight, and that's what's happening. They're pushing up high coming off the corner. Gosselin obviously not having that trouble. He can keep it very tight right on the yellow line coming off. But so far, Rector's been able to hold him off.
It appears to me like the guy with the most trouble out there right now is Eddie Sharp, though, in the number 64. His car is getting loose coming off of turn number 4, and he's getting some heavy pressure now from Chad Chaffin. Here comes Chaffin, takes a look to the inside. He'll hold off this time by, but it looks like he's going to make a bid for 3rd place.
Well, right there, you see that Eddie Sharp had to move up, had to give him a little room, and following him right through is Marty Ward. So those two guys both going to pick up a spot as Gosselin now has plenty of room on the inside and just blows on by Rector going through. And look, he's going to bring a couple of guys with him.
Chad Chaffin makes the move. Rector goes high, and Eddie Sharp goes from 2nd place all the way back to 5th in 1 lap.
That's right, and here comes Marty Ward. He's on the inside now. He moves Rector out a little bit. So those first 3 guys now looking very, very strong. Look at Chaffin already. He's going to make a little bit of a bid, but not enough room that time.
So Chad Chaffin putting the pressure on Mario Gosselin as those top 3 cars have now moved by Jerry Rector. He was the leader just a lap ago, and Chaffin's going to try him on the outside.
Gosselin tried to pull down to the inside to hold him off. When he gets that tight, Chaffin says, heck with you, I'll just go to the outside. It looks like a groove up there to me. So far, he hasn't made the pass, but look, he's alongside him going down the back straightaway.
Here comes Chaffin to the outside. It's a 2-groove racetrack, and Marty Ward's going to take that same move as they move around Mario Gosselin down the front straightaway, and back into the lead is Chad Chaffin. So now we've posted another leader as Mario Gosselin was up front, but only for 2 laps, Larry.
Well, he had a tough way to go. You know, Chaffin really, once again, looks very strong on that outside groove. He ran out there for a lap and really looked strong. And look at Marty Ward. He, too, on the outside, and he just looks like he's going to do the same thing. Blow on by. Right in the middle of the corner, they're not as strong, but they get off of the corner and into the corner very good.
It's very interesting to me, though, to watch Mario Gosselin because he's able to keep that race car very, very low on the racetrack. Look at that. He's hugging the yellow line as they come off at turn number 2, so he's still got a lot of good power, but it appears that these other cars have found a better way when they go on that outside groove.
Well, we talked earlier, the racetrack is getting slicker. There's a lot more oil on it, a lot more rubber out there. So as you take a look at the top 5 in the running order, it does make it more difficult to stay right on that bottom line. You have to free the race cars up. You've got to run them up the racetrack a little farther in order to keep that race car nice and free and flowing around the corner just right. So that's what these other 2 guys are doing. I think all 3 of these first 3 guys are running very well right now.
Well, we need to give a call to Doc McKinney and also to the number 5 car, Kent Strickland. Both of those drivers now moving into the top 15. We haven't seen much of them today, but a good run for both of those drivers.
You can see that the first 5 drivers all still on the same straightaway. Chad Chaffin, though, appears right now, though, he's just pulling away. Maybe a half a car length a lap, but ever so slightly, he's just pulling away from Marty Ward.
You know, we've got a great battle going on the racetrack right now, Larry, but again, earlier in the show, we alluded to those very precious championship points, and out on the racetrack still is Robin Caldwell in that number 35. He was caught up in that big wreck on the front straightaway just before the midpoint of today's race, but he's out there gathering points, and in a 12-race series like this, every lap you make is very important.
Well, this series is no different than Winston Cup or Busch or anything else. They're going to be out there trying to get as many laps as they can, get as many points as they can for future races. You know, down the line, it might make a big, big difference from that year-end point standing, which is pretty substantial.
Well, we saw 36 cars get into today's field by their time and also 4 provisionals. So each week, those provisional positions can be very, very important, and all of these points will count towards that as we move into the middle stages of the 1997 Jackaroo 250 racing season.
And we take a look at the guys who are running 4th and 5th right now. That's Rector and Eddie Sharp. Those 2 guys still hanging on. You know, they're not quite as fast as those first 3 drivers right now, but they're hanging on. Should anything happen, those guys get up there and do a little bumping and banging. They stand a good chance to move up.
Well, let's go back one more time and talk about these pit strategies, though. It has been very, very important. Marty Ward and Chad Chaffin ducked into the pits there. They put themselves deep into the field, but they both have plenty of fuel. They can make it the rest of the way.
They have plenty of fuel. They both have the tires on that they want. They change tires, so they're really in very good shape. We know they're not going to have to stop. Gosselin probably is not going to stop. I don't think anybody's going to stop at this point. They've got to go for the end of the race. But right now, Gosselin seems to be on the longer green flag periods. It seems like he gets a little stronger. Right there at first, he fell back a little bit when these two guys went around him.
So Chad Chaffin is your leader. Marty Ward runs second, and it's Gosselin, Rector, and Eddie Sharp. And we'll be back to Lakeland, Florida in just a moment. The Jackaroo 250 in trouble on the racetrack for number 64, Eddie Sharp. Not quite sure what his problem is, Larry, but he's definitely slowed and looks like he's heading to the pits.
Yes, and he's been in the top 5 all day long. It's a tough break for him. He's done a terrific job, but it's not going to be his day. He's just going to have to go in and see what's wrong and get back on the racetrack if he can.
Well, he's been running good all day in the top 5. We see the number 1 car there on the inside of Don Satterfield from Spartanburg, South Carolina. And we should let you know, folks, that earlier today that car fell off the jack stands and was on top of his crew chief, but evidently he didn't get hurt. So that was somewhat of a miracle down there in the pit area today. So Satterfield's still out there on the racetrack running, but look at this guy. Chad Chaffin is blowing by those lap cars with a very, very strong race car there, the N&S Foreign Car Parts. Man, I'll tell you what, there's Eddie Sharp. Ward's Apparel, one of the sponsors on the back, and it appears like they may be done for the day. Nobody rushing around down there.
No, they weren't too big a hurry to fix it, were they? You can see a while ago when he was trying to go around Wally Fowler, that Fowler got a little bit squirrely. That's one of the biggest problems right now. When you're out there and you're running this fast, you've got a lot of guys who've had problems of one kind or another, been in crashes. They're not running so fast. You've got to make sure that you don't close down on them too quickly and they get sideways and they can put you out of the race. That's going to be one of the challenges for Chad Chaffin right now.
Well, another thing we should explore maybe a little bit, Larry, and this kind of goes back to your type of racing. Many of these drivers are used to running 35 or 50 lap features, and today's race is 250 laps.
Well, obviously, it's a very big transition, as we see right now. Eddie Sharp heading back for the pit area. His day is done. He's going to pull up behind the wall, and that's not good news for him. But your hard thing for a guy who is only used to running for 10 or 15 minutes is to maintain the concentration, maintain the physical part of this racing for this period of time. It is very difficult for some. Other guys seem to have the concentration built in. It's not hard for them at all.
Hey, the number 02, a Jimbo Man there in the top 10. Another driver we haven't talked about much. We see Ronnie Grindstaff, Sammy Potashnik, and Robin Codwell there, all running in the top 20. Well, this guy has put on quite a show today for the fans here at Lakeland, Florida. The number 84 of Chad Chaffin. He sat on the pole, and he has led a big portion of the race today. 3 other drivers have been up front. That includes Marty Ward, Jerry Rector, and Mario Gosselin. But overall, we have seen a very, very strong race car under Smyrna, Tennessee's Chad Chaffin.
And that is Jerry Rector you're looking at right there in the 77 car. But I think most any race car driver will tell you that when a race car is set up as well as Chad Chaffin's is today, it's the easiest race car you'll ever drive. He's probably working the least hard of anybody on the racetrack. It's the guys who have an ill-handling race car that they're just fighting all the way around. Those are the guys that are physically tired and mentally tired from fighting the race cars. Chad Chaffin right now, he's having a great time, believe me.
Well, and Robin Caldwell there you see in the number 35 and Lester Lesneski in the number 6 car, both with severe amount of body damage, and that's got to affect the handling of those cars.
Well, it does affect them somewhat, but the big thing is if it got into the suspension, like on that 35 car of Robin Caldwell, he might very well have knocked the toe in or the toe out of whack, and that's going to affect him a whole lot more than the body work. You get on a super speedway, the body work becomes much more important.
Well, throughout the race today, we've had an awful lot of cars on the track and a lot of lap traffic for all of the leaders to go around. But it is beginning to thin out a little bit. Attrition has taken place here now that there are 15 cars out of the race. 35 cars still running here at the USA International Speedway. Once again, folks, you're watching the Jackaroo Pro Cup Series. Again, these cars very different than what you may have seen in one of our former shows with the Hooters Cup Series. Those cars considered late models. These are full-bodied steel race cars. And really, Larry, when these cars get damaged, it's much, much more work-intensive for them to fix these type of race cars.
Oh, obviously, with the steel bodies, it's much worse. The fiberglass bodies, you just kind of take off the pieces, put on new pieces. These are much more difficult to work on. But, you know, it just depends on what you like. Some guys would much rather drive the heavier race cars. They sometimes seem a little easier. They don't have as much horsepower, or the horsepower to weight ratio is not quite as great.
Oh, we got one car coming sideways off turn number 4. Looks like Sammy Potashnik in the number 65, and he's got some heavy front end damage.
Yeah, I think that damage is going to put him out of the running for sure, because he's not going to be able to get that fixed with the little time that's left.
The PTI Chevrolet hits the wall, and Rick DeBrule is down in the 97 pits.
All right, let's talk about it. You got a yellow here. It's bunching up the field. Is that going to be enough for Marty?
No. We've gotten those new tires we put on. The stagger's gone all to pieces. He's very loose from the middle coming up. We hadn't got anything for anybody but ourselves right now.
But right now, you need something to go wrong with that lead car.
Yeah, we don't want to wish anybody any bad luck, but we'll take them any way we can get them, of course. But Team Hooter Monte Carlo's run good today, and we appreciate Hooters and ESPN, you, Rick, just everybody. We've had a blast. Marty's having a good time.
Well, I'll tell you what, Larry, it's not too tough to have a good time when you're challenging for the lead, huh?
Yeah, when you're running as fast as he and Chad Chaffin have been running, then they're always going to have a good time in a race like this. Those two guys have been really dominant today, it seems to me.
Chad Chaffin from Tennessee in the number 84 is leading, and Marty Ward from South Carolina giving him a pretty good run today here. But I'll tell you what, so far from what I've seen in this race today, Larry, it's going to be tough for anyone to challenge Chaffin. He really has had a car that has stayed very consistent all day long.
Well, I think that you mentioned earlier the thing that's really the key is we see Marty Ward right there. He's trying to get underneath him. He's trying to sneak under him, get a chance. He didn't do it right there. I hope he doesn't do that too much. Get those back tires all lit up and hot, because then he'll start going backwards a little bit. But anyway, this racetrack is very similar to the one he runs a lot, Nashville. And so I think it helped him a lot to set up. I think he came here ahead of a lot of these guys that aren't used to running this kind of a speedway, and obviously it made a big difference for him.
Well, this track very symmetrical, just like Nashville, but also the racing surface. The asphalt down here is a lot like Nashville's.
Yes, and you can see that they came in, they had the setup right away. They were a mile an hour faster than anybody in qualifying. Everybody else caught up to them somewhat, as you can see. Gosselin right now, Marty Ward, both running. Oh, look at this. Marty Ward way high down there in 1 and 2. Gosselin down on the inside. He did a great job to save that car because he was way up in the marbles. Been very easy to get the fence.
The Jackaroo Steakhouse number 10 making a move now on the Marty Ward, and Gosselin will have that position as they come down the front straightaway. Chaffin, your leader, and you're right. Marty Ward really slid her out high there in turn number 1.
You know, I thought maybe he might have lost his brakes or something. He went in there so high, got up so wide. But right now, he's back on it again. Oh, look at Gosselin. He gets sideways coming off at 2 and gives second place back to him.
Wow, the lead has changed for, not the lead, I should say. The lead has stayed for the number 84, but second place changed twice in 2 laps.
Yeah, those two guys, each one of them battling. It looked like when Ward went in, he just went way high, pushed the front end, and then Gosselin got off the corner, got the back end out from under him. He almost spun. He, too, did a good job not to lose that race car.
Well, we're down to just 4 cars on the lead lap. It's Chad Chaffin, Marty Ward, Mario Gosselin, and Jerry Rector. We don't see Rector in the view right now, but he's in that number 77, still in the hunt. But the lead now starts to stretch out for Chad Chaffin as he has put about a 9-car length position on Marty Ward in the number 97.
Well, when those two guys got back there battling each other and sliding up and sliding around a little bit, that gave him the opportunity. Until that all happened, they were within about 4 car lengths of him. Now then, he's doubled or tripled that lead, and it's going to be tough for him to catch him the rest of the way.
Well, Chad Chaffin will pick up the bonus points today for leading at halfway and also for leading the most laps. And the yellow flag is out again here. Not sure exactly what the problem is. Well, the pace truck has picked up the field. Oh, and there it is, some debris on the front straightaway. So we'll take a break from Lakeland. Back with more racing in a moment. And welcome back to the Jackaroo 250. 233 laps are completed. Just 17 to go. The green flag just came back out. We were under caution for debris on the racetrack, but Chad Chaffin has resumed the lead. Dick Westfall just gave him the green, so he only missed about a half a lap.
Yeah, and he's pulled out into a pretty good lead, as we can see right here. We don't see, oh, there's Marty Ward. He's into the pit area. The green flag's out. This is going to be a disaster for him. Marty
Ward was running second in the Hooters number 97, and he is on the green flag pit stop, and that is going to be trouble.
Wow, that's a tough break for him. As now Chad Chaffin, and that's Mario Gosselin, the second car that you see back there in your screen. He's still on the lead lap, and he still has a chance, but he is a quarter of a straightaway behind right now.
Well, Gosselin has led 2 laps in today's race, so we know that he can run up front, but it appears that this race car may be going away from Mario Gosselin. Let's go down to the pit area and find out what happened to the number 97 Hooters Chevrolet.
Marty Ward brings the number 97 car in. The problem is they have a flat tire. That's the problem on the left rear. Their hope is to go the rest of the way. Once again, they're not sure the car is Ward says his feet are burning. Something underneath is heating up, and they've got the jack in the wrong place. Instead of jacking up the chassis, it's jacking up the body. You can just barely see it, but it was enough to get the car out and the tire on.
Well, it's terrible, terrible break for him. Obviously, he ran over some of that debris that was on the racetrack, cut that left rear tire, and with all the trouble they had in there, even if they hadn't had that trouble, they were going to lose a lap.
Well, we see Billy Thomas is in the pit area now, right in the number 21 from Phoenix City, Alabama. So a couple of cars with maybe there's more debris on that racetrack we don't know about, Larry, because a couple of flat tires.
Well, they're going to have to take a look at that very carefully, because if that many guys are having flat tires, obviously there is a problem out there. Right now, the guy that's not having any problems is the guy out in the lead, Chad Chapman. He's been that way all day long.
The number 07 of Tim Clayton on the pit road appears that his day may be done, though. They didn't seem to be working on that race car. So what an incredibly tough break for Marty Ward, who had been out front today for 21 laps and giving a good challenge to Chad Chaffin, but it's not going to be his day today. He won all 3 of the demonstration events in 1996, but not today.
Well, obviously, he had a very quick race car. He wasn't quite as quick. I think the crew chief even said that they were going to need some help if they were going to win the race, because Chad Chaffin has definitely been the dominant factor in this race. But he was close. He was in the hunt all day long. Mario Gosselin is the only other guy that's really been in the hunt for the last half of the race. And there you can see that Marty Ward back on the racetrack running just as fast or maybe faster than these guys, but at least a lap down.
Well, he's 1 lap down for sure, and we'll have to check with scoring, because I believe with that extended pit stop, he may have gone down 2 laps. So although it looks like he's running in 3rd position, that is not his running order in the field out there on the racetrack. So again, a tough break for Marty Ward. Mario Gosselin, though, it does appear is maybe catching Chad Chaffin.
Yes, it certainly does. As we take a look there at the 77 car of Jerry Rector, he also doing a great job. And Chad Chaffin right now got things well in hand. He's done a terrific job all day long. But you can see all of these cars, including our leader and our 2nd place car, they're beginning to slide around a little bit. The tires are getting worn. They've had these things on there for 120 odd laps. And, you know, the race cars just don't handle as well at this part. And that's part of being a good race car driver and winning races. You have to be able to adapt to the changes in the track, the changes in the tires, and everything else that happens during the course of an event that's 250 laps long.
Well, as you alluded to earlier, these drivers are running on bias ply tires, and they only have 1 spare set. They have the 4 that's on the race car that they start with and 4 extra tires, and that is all designed to keep the cost of racing down, and I think it's a good idea.
Well, I do too. You know, some of these teams are not running with great big budgets, so they just come and race with a small budget. They can't afford to go out and spend $8,000 or $10,000 on tires. So, you know, limiting them to 4 certainly helps their perspective and their budgets go into a race.
Johnny Mackison in the number 95 from York, Pennsylvania there with a lot of damage to his race car. We saw him spin out right there in turns 1 and 2 earlier as we brought out a caution, and he is running back in the field a ways, and Chad Chaffin in number 84 seems to have this car on rails.
He certainly does. And, you know, even though he's changed his line, he's moved up the racetrack, the race car is not nearly as fast as it was earlier in the day. He's still the fastest guy out there with only 5 laps remaining.
5 laps to go here in the Jackaroo 250. Ray Dunlap, Larry Rice, and Rick DeBrule bringing you the broadcast today from Lakeland, Florida. Certainly hope you're enjoying our Pro Cup race. This is event number 1 of 1997. Again, you'll see 10 events here on ESPN2 throughout the season. We'll be covering tracks all across the Midwest and through the Central Southeast. So you'll see a lot of different kinds of tracks, and I'm sure that we'll see many different drivers throughout that season also.
Right. This is the part of the race where a driver, when you've got this kind of a lead, you start hearing little noises, you start feeling things going wrong with the race car, and the crew chief is telling you, calm down, just take it easy, you got a nice lead. But boy, it's tough to do. You know, things have been so perfect all day long, you just know that it can't last another 5 laps.
Well, Chad Chaffin has his fingers crossed, I'm sure, as he's got them wrapped around that steering wheel. A few lap cars in the middle right now between he and Mario Gosselin. Gosselin from Lake Wales, Florida in the Jackaroo Steakhouse entry. And once again, this number 84 is sponsored by N&S Foreign Car Parts. And I'll tell you what, his sponsor's got to be pretty happy about his run today here at Lakeland.
Sure got that green car on the race on the TV screen a lot today. But he was well-deserved. He drove a terrific race all day long. He hasn't made any mistakes that we've seen anyway. Mario Gosselin also has done a very good job, and just a bad break for Marty Ward, or he'd be right in there battling with him too.
Well, a left rear tire has taken Marty Ward out of contention today. but as we talked about, he is one of the perennial favorites in this Jackaroo Pro Cup Series. So we'll have to keep our eye on Marty throughout the season. I'm sure he'll be a contender at many of the races we go to.
He got the 2 laps to go sign the last time around. You saw the flagman holding up the 2 flags. That means 2 laps to go. So this time by will be the white flag, and he knows he's only got a little over a lap to go to take home the victory and the $10,000 prize for first place.
Well, a tough break for Eddie Sharp in the number 64 car as he was running in the top 5, and he is now listed out of the race, so he has dropped out. That's a tough break for Sharp, who had a good, strong car today also.
Well, at this point of the race, Chad Chaffin knows that I can almost coast on home. I made it through this last corner. Everything's going good. The engine's still running. And now he comes down, checkered flag. He's got to be a great feeling. Look at that crew.
Whoa, yeah. The Amoco, an associate sponsor on Chad's car, and the crew very, very happy. We'll be back to talk to the winner in a moment. 50, and our Rick DeBrule is down in the pit area, and I think he's with a very, very happy driver from the volunteer stage.
Well, Chad Chaffin, congratulations. Does this mean you're going to the second race?
Yeah, I think we'll be at the second race. Praise the Lord. I mean, it's a perfect day. All the praise to God. The crew did a fantastic job. My hat's off to Hooters. When I heard about this series and the kind of cars and the weight of the cars and everything, we've struggled trying to get in the bush and everything, but this is a super experience, and my hat's off to them. It's a great series. Crew did an outstanding job.
Did the car falter at all today?
No, the car was pretty good. The only mistake we made was we put tires on it. We put 2 tires on the car and it slowed up. We decided to put the other 2 to match the setup, and it got even worse. The first set would have went the whole race. I know some of the guys went the whole race, and there at the end, it wasn't as good as I wanted it, but it was good enough, you know.
Congratulations, the drive was worth it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, a mismatched set of tires didn't seem to hold him up much as Chad Chaffin takes a victory today in the Jackaroo 250. Looking down through the top 10, Shane Russ, Doc McKinney, Gary Layton, Wally Fowler, and Jimmy Doyle rounding out the top 10.
Yes, it was a terrific race. We had guys all the way through really running very well. Some of those guys got caught up early and lost a lap, which was too bad.
Mario Goslin brings home another top 5 finish as second place driver.
Mario, I can't even imagine what kind of day this has been for you. I mean, you were out here, you know, racing in spite of your mother's condition, but you did well. You battled all day long.
Well, I tell you what, you know, first thing I got to thank my crew and my engine builder. We didn't give them very much notice, and they built this motor like day and night for 3 days. Shipped on an airplane Friday. We put it in the car Friday night. All these guys worked on this car. A couple of them didn't sleep at all. Some of them got 2 hours sleep. I mean, it's unbelievable. We came out here Saturday, got, you know, 2 warm-up sessions in the car, never sat in it, never drove one of these cars before. And I felt like I had a pretty good car. I didn't ever think I had this good a car. But this morning, you know, I was with my mom. She was doing pretty bad, and I spent some time with her. Didn't get to holler at the car.
And she told you to come out here.
She told me to come out here. It's where she wanted me to be.
Well, best wishes to Mario and his family as his mother Elizabeth having a tough time. He had a tough time, but made it through this big crash in the early stages of today's Jackaroo 250. Larry Rice, your final comments.
Well, I think we started out with a great race today. These guys all did a terrific job. I think what I'm really looking forward to is the rest of the year. This proves we can have a great series.
Chad Chaffin, your winner today on ESPN2. For Larry Rice and Rick DeBrule, I'm Ray Dunlap. So long, everybody.